Thank you and welcome. We are called to order at 4:01. I'll give land acknowledgement, please. As we gather today, I'd like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we're meeting on traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We'd like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. I will ask if there's any declarations of pecuniary interest. None being heard, we will go on to confirmation of council agenda.
That council adopt the agenda for the August 8th, 2024 special council meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Webster, seconded by Councillor Humphreys, all in support. Thank you. Carried. Moving on to point 5, appointment of acting clerk Nicole Dubois.
That council appoint Nicole Dubois as acting clerk for the August 8th, 2024 special council meeting.
Perfect. Motion by Councillor Humphreys, seconded by Councillor Webster, all in favor. Thank you. Thank you, Nikki. Moving on to point 6 in our agenda, delegations for our public meeting. 6.1 on page 2 of our package today will be a public meeting regarding the zoning amendment by Dale McDonald and Hector McLeod, and I will call to order the public meeting. 4:02. Any declarations of pecuniary interest for the public meeting? None being heard. We'll move on to purpose of the amendment. Thank you, Nikki.
The purpose of this amendment is to rezone the .22 hectare property that contains a place of worship hall to convert the existing building and use the property to a residential use. The effect of this amendment is to rezone the property from community facility to residential 1. All other provisions of the zoning bylaw shall apply.
Thank you. We will now move on to, apologies, reading of any written comments, none being received at time of notice. And have any written comments been received since? No, thank you. Public participation and comments. I will turn it over to attendees. Are there any comments, questions?
I'd like to hear some, I believe there was some studies done on the property for a comment.
Let me review our package for studies. 2 seconds. Were there any studies in particular that you were of interest? Because I don't recall reading in our package.
Something about, having extra bathrooms, because I believe they were looking at an apartment within the property.
So the summary of studies in the package that we've received says none received, none required.
So I guess my concern, I live directly behind, and my concern is if it's more than a one-family dwelling, how is it going to affect the septic and well on the existing septic well.
So if there are more than one dwelling, you're concerned about the impacts to your septic and your well.
Well, and yes, and the runoff and all that. We have, in the winter, snow removal, and we have runoff that comes down our property from like the snow buildup. So, yeah.
Okay. So drainage concerns relative to snow and snow melt?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions within public? Yes, Councillor Webster.
Just to clarify that, so this is just to rezone that area, that piece of property. So at the building permit stage, there's calculations that have to be met in regards to the septic to make sure it's capable of the size of the fixture units are going there, how many bedrooms, and bathrooms and everything else to calculate that. And the septic system has to meet building code at that time at permit stage. This is just to rezone it here. That's what we're talking about right here. And then also with that, they gotta supply a supply drainage plan if anything's changing in that regard. And I don't know the dynamics of all that, and maybe the applicant can discuss that if drainage is gonna be altered much at all, because it's in existing buildings. So maybe you guys can chime in on that.
My name is Jacques Benoit. I'm representing Dale McDonald and Hector McLeod on this application. So I can speak on behalf of septic or drainage. The property is not planned on changing any drainage at this time. So it's going to remain as is. So, and also the parking requirements will be a lot less for residential units than it would for an 80-seat church. So therefore, there would be a lot less snow removal on the parking lot, only enough to accommodate whatever parking is required. So be a lot less snow storage, a lot less runoff on the property. As far as septic, I do have a report, if I can share with council if they want to see, which I wrote to Dale, to the applicants, stating that at this time, the church was capacity for an 80-seat church with an apartment, a one-bedroom and apartment on top of that. So the septic flow for the existing single-family dwelling or apartment with possibly one additional dwelling unit will not require an upgrade to the septic system. So with the calculations provided, which I can share with you, is the impact of adding one additional unit than what, compared to what the church was, will not be more flow than what the existing is now. As far as well is concerned, the water requirements will be a lot less for one or two single-family dwellings than would a church that would be.
Thank you. Appreciate that comment. Appreciate the update. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just concerned, I guess, because I know that the church really never had 80 people at any given time. They met once a week. And as far as, as long as I've lived there, which is, over 10 years, I've seen one couple in that apartment for a very short period of time. And I don't know certainly about the septic study, but I'm just wondering if two families living in the property and, doing their laundry and using the bathroom facilities and watering grass and all that would have more so of an impact on that, on the septic and the well there.
Thank you. I appreciate your feedback. I think as Councillor Webster pointed out as well, is today's meeting is relative to the zoning rezone for it. The occupancy and the building permit request for it and how it would be used is certainly guided by the building inspection, and certainly to ensure that any septic or any well would be sized appropriately. And I appreciate if you could be sharing that with council as well, the studies that you've done to shift from a capacity, whether it was used or not, but capacity of 80-person church and a apartment to be reverted is what is in front of us as council today. Would there be any other comments? Yeah, thank you, Jacques.
I'd like to comment on that, trying to help understand. The septic design is based on 80 seat capacity for daily use. So the church could have been used every day, including the apartment used every day, and that's what the septic system has been designed for. But like you said, only one day a week, and maybe not even the one bedroom not being used very much. So as far as saturation to the existing septic system would probably be very low due to the not being used very much. But again, the design of the tank and bed is designed for 80 seat capacity to be used daily, and same as the one-bedroom apartment. So, and same as the well, had capacity to allow for 80 seats and the washroom for the church and the one-bedroom apartment.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments, questions? Okay. None being heard. Moving on to within the information on who's entitled to appeal the council's decision. Nikki, are you able to walk us through that? Thank you.
If a person or public body would otherwise have an ability to appeal the decision of the Township of Horton to the Ontario Land Tribunal, but the person or public body does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Horton before the bylaws pass, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal this decision. If a person or public body does not make oral submission at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Horton before the bylaws passed by the Township of Horton, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so.
Thank you, Nikki. We'll move on to section 6 of the public meeting. Council members' comments or questions.
Just one comment, this meeting is for, just to change the zoning from a community facility to a residential, so this is why this meeting was called as far as I was concerned. The rest of the details will come through the building inspectors, and what we have in front of us is strictly just to change the area from community facility church to residential. So I have everything's been done. It's been gone through Pembroke. It's gone through all the requirements it needs to go through. So I don't see anything going from CF to R1 with the proper setbacks. It will be done properly at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Humphreys. Councillor Webster?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. No, I'm in support of this as well, and I have full confidence in the designer hired here who's speaking today on he's done his homework and everything's in place, so I don't have any issues with this at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Webster. So, pardon me?
Dale McDonald.
We've wrapped the public consultation portion, but I'll ask council, are you in support of allowing another public commentary? Yeah, go ahead.
The only thing I wanted to say is that we live on Thompson Hill as well. So anything that we do with that property as far as a residence goes is only going to be to benefit the whole area. It's not our objective in any way to try to make issues for surrounding areas whatsoever, being that we live there too.
Thank you. I appreciate the extra comment to that. And I would echo both councillors' comments of the rezoning from community facility to residential one, I think is fairly straightforward. The due diligence that was done by county, as Councillor Humphreys has pointed out, and the support of the representation that you've brought to bear, I think gives me great confidence that in its new chapter of life, it would be done with a community perspective to that, and giving assurance that, the capacity that was available but not yet used would not be greater exceeded, but that is all in good time. Right now, the rezoning, I am in full support. Okay. I will pass to, I believe that is it, adjournment of public meeting. Thank you. And we'll move on to section 7 of tonight's agenda, which is the zoning bylaw amendment on page 12 of our package. Nikki, can I pass that over?
So that council enact the following bylaw, 2024-29, zoning bylaw amendment, McDonald and McLeod.
I have a mover? Councillor Webster, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Humphreys. All in favor? Passed. Moving on to section 8. I believe that is what you have just passed, Nikki, correct?
No, we'll do our confirming bylaw.
My apologies. Confirming bylaw then, please.
That council enact bylaw 2024-30, confirming bylaw.
Moved by Councillor Webster, seconded by Councillor Humphreys. All in favor? Thank you, gentlemen. And I will call us to adjournment at 4:16. Thank you all.